So you would think by lunchtime here at talkSPORT we're going to know an awful lot more than we do now. But Knight is saying, Chelsea fans, be prepared. You might be hearing things that you might not like.
Well, none of us know what cash reserves Chelsea have got on deposit that is available to them. What we saw was the financial year end last year, where Chelsea had the best part of 20 million quid in the bank. Right, that's going to last them a month. Right, so we don't know what their current position is. Right, we do know that they've taken all the season ticket money. We do know they can sell. The argument now is, can we let away fans in? Can we take merchandise at games?
Yeah.
Well, let's look at that and analyse it. If Chelsea got 6 more games at home, excluding the Champions League, if they're selling 13,000 tickets to away fans and to the incidental home fans that doesn't have season tickets, then you're only talking about £1 million a game, give or take. 70 tickets, 13,000 tickets at an average of 70 quid, take the VAT off, is £1 million a game.
Okay.
So we're talking about 6 or 7 million quid coming in through gate receipts, and maybe the same again coming in through ancillary revenues like catering and merchandise and so on and so forth. So that's 14, 15, 16 million quid. What do you think that's going to pay them next? It's going to pay the wages for the next month. So it's not just about letting fans in, it's about deciding how quickly Chelsea's going to be sold. Now, you've got a bunch of people running around, Nick Candy standing in front of a spotlight, telling everyone how he's going to buy the football club, and a variety of other people. Right?
Do you know this guy to any extent?
I do, yeah. Now, he won't have the money himself enough. He's a very, very successful man, but he'll need to put together a consortium. I've heard some of the things that he's saying, and the attitude that he has towards football is that the stadium needs to be used for secondary spend, there needs to be concerts. Well, we've all thought that, Nick. Get in the door and see what football really costs you. And we've heard the idea that we're going to bring fans into the equation. That's fantastic. If you think there's the right place and it's the right space to have a fan on the board, have a fan on the board. Don't forget the Chelsea Pitch Associate owners that already have control over your direction of travel, because they're not going to let you just buy Chelsea Football Club and use the naming rights, which they hold the rights for, without certain concessions anyway. So there's a lot of levers that need to be pulled here. Chelsea will be sold. The interesting thing for me is how much it's going to be sold for, because this is now a distressed asset. The owner of the football club is in a distressed state. Right? He is no longer determining what it can be sold for. And it now becomes a situation where an asset that is a cultural asset is away from the owner. The government are making sure that the proceeds of any sale don't go to Abramovich. They go to designated causes like the Ukrainian war victims. But I tried to find out why anyone would be paying top money unless they believe there's commercial jeopardy and competitive jeopardy in all bidding against one another.
Sure.
Because this idea, there's a bid for 2.7 billion from a Saudi
media group.
From a Saudi media group.
Now, would that be accurate? Is that kind of ballpark figure? Well, 2.7 billion.
Well, I mean, if you follow the media and suggest that Abramovich wanted 3 billion, there has never been a sale of an English football club for anything that resembles anything like 3 billion quid. So it's difficult to see why anyone's going to pay 3 billion quid or close to it for Chelsea in the condition that they're in now, in terms of, it's a distress, not because they've lost anything. They've still got a very valuable squad. They've still got a very valuable iconography. It's been diminished a little bit. Some of the sponsors have taken a sabbatical, and the new ownership will clear that up. The sponsors will come in. Some of the sponsors are running out of contract. 3 run out in a year's time. Nike haven't distanced themselves. People that have got long-term contracts like Trivago are sitting there saying something, we'll work with the new ownership model. We'll work with, which is what you want to hear from brands, rather than running to the hills. They knew what Abramovich's links were when they sponsored Chelsea. Right. They knew what Abramovich's background was. Yeah. They knew that Abramovich didn't get a visa in 2018 after all the furore of people getting murdered in this country, allegedly by Russians, and so on and so forth. So it's a bit of a hypocrisy that they're distancing themselves now. But going to your question, I find it difficult to believe that anyone's going to want to bid the top draw money in a situation where Abramovich doesn't want his 1.5 billion back. So what you're saying is these guys are coming in and they're going to honour a price because they want to be charitable to the Ukrainian war fund. Now, with the greatest respect in the world, if you look at hard-nosed businessmen, they're going to have a degree of empathy for that situation, but their empathy will go so far until it reaches their pockets. The balance is what will happen with Chelsea. Chelsea will be sold. Whether Chelsea's next model is the same as it was before, and whether the Premier League wants to take an opportunity to say, right, we need to look at the way money's coming in, what it's coming in for, and how we can protect ourselves, like putting a blue plaque above the door in a listed building to make sure these cultural assets, we know we have fans screaming every day of the week for more money in football, more star players, they don't care where it comes from. Well, maybe people are beginning to care now. And there is an element of that care needs to extend to other ownerships as well, because whilst we're all focusing on Ukraine, I'm sure the people of Yemen would like to know why there's been bombs dropped dropped on them.
Right. So is it preferable from a Chelsea fan point of view that your man, the property developer Nick Candy, gets his hands on the club as opposed to the Saudi media group?
Well, yes and no, because Nick has... Well, let's not ignore the fact that a lot of Nick's money has come from the Maktoum family that helped him build all the residences that he's built around London. So let's not ignore some of the links that he has.
Yeah.
But he is an Englishman. I'm a globalist. I believe that we cannot ignore globalisation.
Yeah.
But there is a challenge that how we understand... If you're looking at globalisation, if we're going to talk about people getting upset with people not speaking, and we're talking about Eddie Howe, let's start finding out who owns some of our businesses in this country, like Jaguar Land Rover, Saudi money, like
Right.
HSBC,
Yeah.
part owned by Saudi
I'm
money,
glad
like
you
Savoy
take me there.
Hotel.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.